back for episode number 19 of the Setup Podcast. It's been a little while, but we're back.
We're back. We are back.
Football season is here, so it's only right that we make a little comeback. I know it's been, probably 2 or 3 weeks since we last recorded. But week one just happened, and a lot happened. Probably more than anybody could have expected, to be totally honest. We had a crazy Monday night game. Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Arguably the 3 best teams in the NFL, Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals, all lost in week one. The NFC, who everybody said was going to be terrible in comparison to the AFC, came out strong. I mean, the top 3 teams in that division all looked pretty good, aside from the Eagles looked okay. But basically what we're going to do, and I think from here on out, it's going to be one episode a week, kind of in the middle of the week after all the games have finished and before Thursday Night Football. We're going to recap. Sorry, my cat just slammed on my on my door. We're going to recap everything that happened the week prior, and then we're going to kind of give some thoughts with a new segment called Hook, Line, and Sinker. We're going to give the hook, the storyline, why you should be watching the game. The line is going to be us guessing the spread going into the game, and the sinker, who we think is going to win.
Yep.
So, I guess it's only right. What's
we're
that?
We're gonna keep our records throughout this year. It might be something like stupid, crazy. Like I don't even know how many games would be in an NFL season, but it's gonna be well over the hundreds. But I think it's just gonna be kind of interesting to see as the season progresses. But I was so.
And we kind of have week one as like a barometer of like how good teams might be. We might do some overreacting in our predictions this week because it's only week one, and some really good teams lost, and some really bad teams won. So we'll see kind of how it shakes out, but we'll keep a tally the entire season. You have a pen on you, so you can write it down.
About just
like write down all our picks. That way we can keep track of it.
Yes, I have a pen. I have a pen right on me, and I'll write them down.
I might have one too.
I'm just happy football's back. I've been nonstop thinking about it since I would say the last couple of weeks, but then now after seeing some of our teams play, some of the matchups play, I'm just so happy it's back. It's just a better time.
Yeah, literally, I'm gonna be honest. Literally, like all I think about every day right now is football.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
Here's what I'll say, because we are neglecting another part of the game. Maybe at the end, Ethan's not a big college guy. I'd like to say that I am, but I'm probably not. We might give you 2 minutes of college football at the very end. 2 minutes at most.
I'm down for that.
If you guys like it, if it's something we want to keep talking about, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more at length moving forward. But anyways, let's get it started. Thursday night, season kickoff. The Chiefs lose to the Lions, who everybody was kind of hyping up this offseason. Maybe not as much as the Bears, who are just as terrible as I thought they would be, or the Steelers, who downright sucked against the 49ers. But the Lions look good. I mean, there was no Travis Kelce, obviously, no Chris Jones, but they finally signed him back on a 1-year deal. Looks like Kelce will be back for week 2. I mean, this game was kind of everything you could ask for the first game of the season. You know what I mean? The one thing I didn't like from the Lions, at least, was you take a running back with a top 15 pick, I think it was, top 12. I want to say he went like 10th or 12th, and Jahmyr Gibbs, and you feature him 7 times in your running game, even though he looks exponentially better than David Montgomery, who's probably not even a top 25 back in the NFL. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is getting 6 yards a pop to Montgomery's 3.5, which was downright terrible if you want to establish any type of running game, which they really didn't have last year because DeAndre Swift doesn't know how to run through the tackles. I just think, I mean, moving forward, you have to feature Jahmyr Gibbs more. Whether it's in the pass game, in the run game, whatever it is, he's 10 times better than David Montgomery, and I don't really understand that. They walked away with a win. Nobody really thought they would win. Good for the Lions, I guess. On the flip side, looking at the Chiefs, who is going to catch the ball for them outside of Travis Kelce? I mean, Kadarius Toney might be playing for the Cleveland Gladiators next season, for all we know. Maybe by the midway point in the season. He had like 4 drops. he easily could have finished with 80 receiving yards if he just caught wide open passes. MVS is still just a burner downfield. Sky Moore really didn't do much for a guy who got a decent amount of hype going into his rookie year. Give me your thoughts, because I'm honestly kind of concerned about the Chiefs from a pass catching standpoint and from a defensive standpoint.
So I don't think I'm as necessarily that worried with when it comes down to Gibbs' production, because I know Dan Campbell said right away that he was going to, come out with next couple of games and kind of ease Gibbs back into it. And I mean, I can understand that too. He was a highly touted pick. Dave Montgomery's also very injury prone, so he's not going to guarantee you, playing every single game. So I mean, I get it. I was right there with you though. I was kind of wanting to see Gibbs more and more often. I mean, I don't think Monty had that bad of a game though. I know some drives he had, a 2-yard rush, 3-yard rush here, but whatever it may be. I mean, I didn't really think he was that bad, but obviously you want to see more from Jahmyr Gibbs. I think the biggest thing with this game was just the Chiefs' overall lack of pass catchers and offensive movement. Usually Mahomes is able to get it done, and I mean, I would say he was getting it done. It's just his receivers weren't really there to show up and help him out. It was 12 different. He had 12 different receivers with a catch, or receivers or running backs with a catch, which was he was spraying it all over the place. He was doing what Mahomes does, and I mean, I think on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, I think the Lions didn't play their best game. I'm used to that high-powered, high-scoring offense that I think we're going to see. Amon-Ra did his thing. Chiefs D missed Chris Jones, obviously, like you said. But what was weird to me was looking at the box score after, the team stats were like almost identical with both teams, and I mean the score kind of proves that too. Yeah, it was a really, really even game from all perspectives, like time of possession, drives, turnovers. They weren't really that big of a difference. So I mean, I would say overall it was a great start to the year and a great Thursday night game. And I know people who are, as Max and I are, fans of the teams who are not notoriously great teams, we're happy for them getting that first win. So
yeah, I'm definitely always prone to rooting for like the Lions, the Jags, teams like that who
100%.
are habitually just like bottom dwelling terrible teams.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, moving on to the 1:00 slate, our Cleveland Browns 24-3 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll tell you what, this defense looks damn elite. This defense looks damn good. I mean, Grant Delpit the entire day. Like, I haven't seen him play like the first-round talent that he was drafted to be, quite frankly, ever. I mean, he was all over the field. He was making tackles at the line of scrimmage. He was an excellent spy for the QB. He was making plays downfield on elite receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I mean, I don't really know if he messed up at all during this game. He had the second highest PFF grade among all safeties outside of, I forget what the guy's name is, who had 3 picks last night for the Jets.
But,
Martin Emerson was amazing. Great coverage when, honestly, they didn't really have a lot of guys back there as much as Jim Schwartz had them blitzing. Denzel Ward looked good. Greg Newsome played well. J.O.K. and Anthony Walker did their jobs. But I think it really just all boils down to Jim Schwartz. Like, Jim Schwartz, if he can keep, like, getting these guys to buy into the system that he has for them, he's moving Myles Garrett down the line of scrimmage, finding the guy on the line to exploit. Darius Smith helps Myles out so much, just having an added layer of pressure, which he's never really had a guy next to him that's a serious threat. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney was terrible. You had 1 year of Olivier Vernon, who was halfway decent. Devin Tomlinson played really well in the run game. I think the only, like, run plays that they really got were, like, 2 inside zones from Mixon, where we were in pretty much heavy, like, pass defense, and there's not much you can ask there. I mean, the defense played outstanding. Outside of the Cowboys, who scored twice on defense, and obviously they had a lot of sacks against the not-so-great Giants at line, I think the Browns' defense looked just as good as anybody else in the league. I mean, what more can you ask for from a team who was bottom 25% in basically every aspect of defense last year? It was better defense than we saw in any single game they played the entire season last year. It was better defense than maybe I've seen in my entire lifetime as a Browns fan. And that's something to be happy about. One other thing to be happy about, 24, Nick Chubb. He just picks right where he left off.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. He's the best back in the league. We've been saying it from the day we started this podcast. He's the most patient runner I've seen in a very long time. And if you give Nick Chubb the type of blocks that he needs, he's going to go for 100 yards. He's going to get you a touchdown. And you can count on him play after play. And there's not very many guys on our team in our lifetime that we've been able to say you can count on that guy to show up week in and week out. So I'll let you go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, just backpacking off of what you're saying about Chubb, I think what's so underrated about his game is obviously you mentioned his patience, but his ability to read his blocks and go through those holes. Like, I really don't think there's many games in which I've seen Chubb truly get stuffed most of the game, unless it was Steelers who game plan against it. But just he always knows when to accelerate through his blocks. We absolutely dominated them from all aspects of offense and of defense. Yards, we murdered them in it. Obviously, they won the turnovers battle, but, I mean, they didn't score a touchdown. They only got 6 first downs in the entire game, which is incredible from your defense.
I think there was something like 2 for 15 on 3rd and 4th down conversions.
The Browns were 2 for 3 in the red zone as well, which is great to see. I just think all around it was such a good win. Obviously, I know you want to see Deshaun play a little bit better, but the one thing I did like seeing from him was he played more freely than I think last year. He looks like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders last year with all these expectations, and obviously there's a huge expectation on him now still. But he looks like he was having a little bit more fun with it, and he kind of brought that competitive edge back with it on some of those, runs that he had, and he's pointing for first down, getting in some of the Bengals players' faces, just getting that competitive edge back to him and truly forgetting about kind of what was happening off field and getting back to what it is like being a football player. And it was great to see. It was also awesome to see Elijah Moore's intro. I know he only had about 3 catches for 40 yards, wasn't crazy, but
he had a really nich run too on that end around that he took back the other way.
He had that big 30-yard catch as well that led to another field goal in the second half too. I just think he's going to play such a big key within this offense, and I know he had some issues in New York about dealing with being a part of this offense, but he's going to be the guy. And I mean, when Cooper went down for that second, you could tell that Elijah Moore would have to step up a little bit. I'm hoping we get Cedric Tillman involved a little bit more. We could talk about the run splits between Chubb and Ford, but I mean, it's not going to be how it is just because Ford got all the fourth quarter.
I don't know. I'm going to talk quickly. Go ahead.
No, sorry. My last point was just I was just so amazed at stopping this high-powered offense, and I know Burrow didn't look his best, and I don't think he was the most healthy, but just the defense's ability to just truly dominate this game and let our offense play. It was almost like a pitcher pitching 8-9 innings without letting up more than 3-4 hits and no earned runs. It's great. It lets your offense be able to flourish freely. So,
yeah, I'll talk super quickly about the 2 QBs just because I kind of rambled about my Browns because I'm very excited after our dominant Week 1 performance. We don't get a lot of those, so when we do, we're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna embellish, yeah.
I think for Watson, I don't want to totally write off this game because of the weather. Obviously, it was like kind of a weird, like misty, drizzly. The ball was wet. It was not an easy game to evaluate QBs just because of the conditions. The concerns I have pretty much just lie in some of the easier throws because I don't think it's easy. Like, I'm not going to evaluate your downfield playmaking as a QB in a game where it's just difficult to make a play downfield. But the quick hitters, the curls, the slants, the digs, the balls that are at like guys' feet in front of them, that's something that's got to get corrected. If it stays like that the entire year, I mean, that's no good. That's Baker Mayfield 2.0. We've seen how that plays out for a competent Browns roster with a QB who can't execute. So I'm not completely writing it off. But that type of stuff's a little concerning. And then on the flip side, I obviously this is Joe Burrow's worst game of his career. It's just downright ugly. But if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm walking away from this game at least with the knowledge that Joe Burrow was hurt for most of training camp. It looked like a team that really didn't get a lot of reps together going into the game. The weather wasn't great. He's probably still a little bit injured. And I hate to make excuses for a division rival, obviously, because we're gonna take any win that we can get, right? We don't get too many of those, but I think they'll be fine. I mean, they started 0-2 last year and then won the division and made it to an AFC championship. I think they'll be just fine. I think Joe Burrow will only play better as the season progresses, so I don't see it as like a major concern if you're a Bengals fan. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I also wouldn't have been opposed to shutting Burrow down for the first couple weeks because he didn't look like himself. I mean, I would rather have just done what the Bengals have done and struggled a little bit in the first early weeks than just go on that absolute tear. So I mean, I essentially I think it was smart for them to pull him in the fourth quarter and their starters, but it just kind of looked like that he was not himself. Not he couldn't really move, and I mean that's why we rushed and blitzed so many times is because we took advantage of that. And I mean, if you're going to put a hurt quarterback out there, we're going to send the house. So I mean, kudos to us on that. But I mean, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. These next two games, I think let's give them 30 seconds to a minute each. Panthers Falcons, Bijan, sick juke for a touchdown catch. Tyler Algier still looks good. Bryce Young, not so great. Drake London, not involved. Desmond Ritter, bet. That's my song.
Yeah, I was talking about Jesse Bates. Two picks.
Jesse Bates had a great game.
He had 2 picks, two pass breakups, ton of tackles. Algier shined. I would say he definitely shined. Maybe he's going to be the horse of the backfield for when it comes to running, and Bijan will handle more of the passing. Yeah, Ritter didn't even throw over 20 times. He didn't throw a pick. He was averaging like 4 yards per throw. I don't think they even tried anything risky. The Panthers' run game as well. I think the Panthers' MVP from this game is Miles Sanders. He got it done on both ends, over 80 yards rushing, and had a solid, receiving game as well. But I mean, 24-10 from these two teams isn't the most interesting game ever.
That's
so we can move on.
That's about all for our Panthers Falcons breakdown.
Yep.
Next game, probably won't give this one too much shine either. Saints Titans. All I'm going to say, Ryan Tannehill, bad quarterback, not even serviceable anymore. Chris Olave is absolutely electric. In my eyes, he deserved just as much hype as Garrett Wilson got this offseason. They both had 1,000-yard seasons. He's an elite player. I think he's going to be a marquee number one receiver for a long time. He looked absolutely awesome. Surprise of the day, Michael Thomas did not get injured. Thank God. Michael Thomas is still healthy after week 1. The betting odds on that were probably plus 10,000. Other than that, Derek Carr looked okay. I mean, Derek Carr kind of looks like he was meant to wear a Saints uniform. It just looks right on him, if that makes sense.
It does.
It definitely looks right on him. I like Tajay Spears, the other back that Tennessee has. He actually got more snaps than Derrick Henry did, which was kind of surprising to see. DeAndre Hopkins, 13 targets. I think he only caught 4 of them because Ryan Tannehill doesn't know how to throw a football. And that is my Titans Saints breakdown. Thank you very much.
This was the battle of the kickers. Every score was a kick. Every score was a field goal except for that one Rashid Shaheed touchdown, who, by the way, undrafted, played a great game. I mean, yeah, Derek Carr's built to be a Saints quarterback. You can just tell. I also need to bring this point up for fantasy football and for just anyone who's curious in this. There's a reason why Daniel Carlson has so much value in the previous years, and that is because Derek Carr might be the greatest quarterback in NFL history to get over the 50, but he cannot put it in the end zone to save his life.
That's
and
a great
I'm telling
point.
you, buy in on any kicker that is kicking on a Derek Carr team because that man can get you across the 50, but you are not scoring a touchdown.
That's a great point.
It's a guarantee for field goal.
We might have to find some next gen stats about Derek Carr's getting over the 50-yard line percentage.
Because they kicked 4 field goals this game. They kicked three or four field goals.
Will
It's
Lutz
absurd.
stop. It's going up. Moving on.
Oh, it's not Will Lutz anymore.
Oh, it's not?
No, Will Lutz is on the Broncos. It's Blake Groupie.
Really?
Will Lutz got traded to the Broncos.
Really? That's
Yes.
crazy. I never would have guessed.
I didn't know that either until week 1. And I was like, "Where's Will Lutz?" And then I
Yeah.
looked it up and I saw, yeah, he
That's
moved,
crazy.
but-
Anyways, moving on. I don't think we'll spend a lot of time on this one either. Jags Colts. Some of the notes I had, Calvin Ridley has not. He looked so good in week 1. He had some great catches. Zay Jones had an awesome catch in the end zone too. I'm pushing my Jags agenda all year. They're
Mhm.
absolutely they might be the best team in the AFC. We might see after this week in Kansas City. ETN had a nice little game. One super weird moment was that Trevor Lawrence fumble that no one thought was a fumble. Even the defense just like stopped playing for a second, and then DeForest Buckner recovered it for a touchdown. I'm not sure if you saw that. That was super weird.
yeah,
It was just like super strange. And then Anthony Richardson, I think if you're a Colts fan, you walk out of this game thinking he did all right. He probably looked better than any of the other starting rookie QBs, and you got him at a bargain compared to those two and where they were
Mhm.
drafted. I mean, yes, there were some easier concepts that they were setting him up for, but regardless, every rookie QB is going to get easy passing concepts, quick hitters, not super far downfield, and he looked good. He got a nice rushing touchdown too, kind of a sick celebration you don't see too often. The 360 spike in the end zone is pretty electric. And he probably could have dunked the football the way how high he got up, but this was an entertaining game. I thought
it
thought would be
definitely was.
not nearly as close.
I got an offer to go to this game at Lucas Oil because where I am is 2 hours from Lucas Oil, but I politely declined to watch my Brownies. Yeah, I think the Colts. I mean, Anthony Richardson did look good. I know he left the game at the very end with an injury, and Minshew had to come in, but it turns out he's going to be fine. They couldn't get the run game going to save their lives. I mean, besides AR5, I mean, he had 40 rushing yards himself, but their lead back who got the most carries, Deion Jackson, had 13 carries for 14 yards. Pittman balled. He had 8 catches for 97 yards off and a touchdown off of 11 targets. I drafted him in more than half my fantasy leagues to store on my bench just to see how he'd play. I know it's been a week, but I think that is going to pay off if he's got Richardson because that seems to be like his favorite target.
For sure.
Trevor Lawrence did his thing. I mean, the utilities of his stars were just put on full display. Ridley absolutely balled out. Zay Jones had a good game. Ingram had a good game. I loved ETN's game as well. He did it really well on the ground with 77 yards and a touchdown. Obviously had that huge crucial block on Calvin Ridley's touchdown as well. Just overall great stuff coming from the Jags. And I mean, if you look at the defensive stats for this game, like I know the Colts scored, 3 touchdowns. The Jags have a good defense, I think, and I think it's one of the more underrated ones too.
And one of those touchdowns was a defensive touchdown. Anyways.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that front seven for the Jags is going to be nasty, and they have a huge matchup coming up next week with the Chiefs. So we'll come up on that later, but
For
yeah.
sure. I have one question for you. Is Baker okay?
I think he might be. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit back. Maybe not fully Baker Mayfield, but
You hear that?
You're still doing his thing. What?
Oh, an ad popped up on my computer for like a horror movie. I was so confused what was playing in the background. Did you hear that at all or no?
No, I didn't hear that at all.
That was terrifying. This music started playing.
Oh,
Spooky Hours with Baker Mayfield, I guess. He looked okay. I mean, he didn't look bad. I think the Vikings are not going to be as good as they were last year. I mean, when you're 11-0 in one-score games, there's bound to be some type of regression.
I was going to say that's usually the games they would win last year.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson looked just as I thought someone who went for 9 receptions and 150 yards would look after a loss. He looked just as mad as somebody who put up that stat line would be.
Most of that was
Other
at half too.
yeah,
He,
it was insane.
he had 130 at half.
Yeah. I want to say he's the best receiver in football, but we're going to come up on another game that might be having me to question that. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's not much more to say about this game. The Vikings maybe not won't be that great, but the Bucks. Here's the one word I got for the Bucks: frisky. They're going to be frisky this year. There are going to be some
Yes.
games they win that you don't expect them to, and that's pretty much all I got for that game.
I mean, yeah, it's the Bucks defense is Emerald Village, the old folks' home, but I mean, it still ended up looking and
They
working
look
out to be. It still ended up looking pretty well. Um, Kirk, I mean, Kirk had about 300 passing yards at halftime too. I mean, I think it was like 277 at a half or something like that.
yeah.
Like, he could have gone for something crazy, but just it looks like I was talking to a Vikings fan today, and he said that they went into halftime, and it looked like they made absolutely zero adjustments compared to the Bucks, and the Bucks came out firing in the second
Yeah.
half. But
I
I
think
mean,
that
they
defense
yeah.
is bad all year.
Also, one thing to note, I don't know if it's the Bucks defense, but RB1 Alexander Madison did not have that great of a game to start off the year. Obviously, it's week one, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were buying in on him. They couldn't. They had what 40 rushing yards the entire game. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
they need a more balanced offense. Their offense needs to be more balanced.
Next game I'm looking at here, and this is just a beautiful score, beautiful performance if you're a Browns fan, which we are. I don't know if we've mentioned that more than 100 times, but
I know which game we're talking about.
49ers 30, Steelers 7. All this hype this team got all off season.
I know, bro.
All
I know.
off season. Kenny Pickett, he's the one. He's the one. He's gonna be great. This defense is legit. It's gonna be great. I mean, you lose Cam Hayward for next week against the Browns. We don't root for injuries, but when they happen, we're gonna take all the advantage we can get. Deontay Johnson out. They're starting right tackle out. I mean, this team they look terrible. They had one total yard in the entire first half. 1 yard. You know how ridiculous that is? You know how ridiculous that is? It's easier. It's probably easier to put up 400 yards in a half than it is to put up 1 yard. I'm
Yeah.
preying on the Steelers' downfall. They looked awful. They looked absolutely terrible. And guess what? That O-line sucks. And the Browns' defense looks damn good. We better blitz them every single play. They look absolutely awful. On the
Yep.
flip side, Christian McCaffrey is still just amazing. Probably one of the highlights of the weekend was that run. That spin move he had was sick. It was absolutely beautiful. Brandon Ayuk, I've been telling people all offseason, this guy's the number one in that offense. He's a much more complete receiver than Deebo
Yeah.
Samuel. I don't know.
I got to give you your flowers on that. Yeah, you were calling that Ayuk. I know it's week one, but I mean, 120 and 129 and 2 touchdowns is incredible. I mean, biggest thing for me is like from his rookie year on, it looks like Najee was like going to be a top 5 back in the NFL, and
he sucks.
I think Jalen Warren out snapped him in the game. Najee only got 6 carries. I mean, I know they were playing from behind, and that's why Pickett has 232 passing yards because they're playing from behind the entire game.
Najee Harris is fat and he doesn't know how to run forward. That's my analysis for you.
I mean, the 49ers are just so dominant. They're so dominant. I mean, there's nothing more you can say about it. Brock Purdy is a great quarterback. Like,
He looked great.
I don't want to say stick him somewhere else and he'd be a great quarterback. He's great for this system. I mean,
For that
it
system,
seems
he's
to
awesome.
work so well.
And Big Dog Trent Williams just continues to do Trent Williams thing.
Monster.
He's
I
insane.
mean, I mean, maybe that NFC Championship game goes different if Purdy doesn't go down. Who knows? I want to see that rematch. By the way,
All right, and then the next game on the docket is Cardinals Commanders. The Cardinals won or lost 16-20, and that will be our entire Cardinals Commanders breakdown. Thank you very much. Moving on, we have the Texans versus the Ravens. Ravens obviously They won big, 25-9. You didn't have Mark Andrews. Lamar didn't look that great either. Um, J.K. Dobbins out for the year with a torn Achilles. It seems like he can just never stay healthy. Roquan Smith looked great. He was all over. Other than that, I mean, C.J. Stroud kind of looked meh. Him and Bryce Young both kind of just had okay weeks. They didn't look as good as Richardson did, which surprised me because I was higher on them than I was Richardson going into the draft earlier this year. But I didn't have much to say about this. Zay Flowers probably the most impressive rookie
Yes.
debut, other than maybe Jordan Addison. He caught a touchdown pass, so he looked pretty good. But
hmm
Zay Flowers looked awesome. He was my favorite rookie receiver going into this year. And then the Texans, man, they're just going to be bad. They're just bad,
Yeah.
bad football team. They don't have a lot of guys who are very good at football, so that makes it tough to win in the National Football League, which is the best football league. So that's about all
Yeah.
I got.
Um, I mean, Damian Pierce had not great game. I mean, Nico Collins, sorry, had a good game. I mean, Stroud, I wouldn't say he was passing it like it was bad. I mean, he didn't throw any picks, he didn't throw a touchdown. I mean, he was moving the ball around. They couldn't run. Their defense couldn't do the defense thing. I mean, I kind of just expected this, but I mean, maybe CJ Stroud's going to be reunited with his teammate Marvin Harrison next year. Um,
Yes.
I mean, J.K. Dobbins, I feel so bad for him, man. I mean, we're just going to see another year of a rotation of Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, just like every year. Eventually, Lamar will be out for some reason, and then it'll be Tyler Huntley. Obviously, not wishing an injury upon him. Mark Andrews already was out; he didn't play Week 1. Isaiah Likely was supposed to be start of the week for your boy Ethan in some fantasy leagues, and he had one catch for 4 yards. So yeah, that didn't end up going that well. I mean, not much more to say. It was a Ravens win, but like it really wasn't that great of a win. It didn't look pretty. Most of their points came from the third quarter. So I mean, yeah, I don't think I really have much more to say about this game next.
Yeah. Bears Packers. Packers win 38-20. Man, Bears fans, they're just gonna be stuck in hell for all of eternity, is what it feels like. Justin Fields still cannot pass the ball. Jordan Love put up 250 yards and 3 touchdowns.
He
Aaron
balled.
Jones did his thing. Quay Walker had a really awesome pick six for them. I mean, they really didn't get DJ Moore involved outside of like a bubble screen and a slant. I got another ad. It's the same home. I'm so sorry. Um, that really scared me for the second straight time. Um, anyways, I mean, Bears fans, they're cursed. I don't know what you do if you're a Bears fan. Like
No, it's
all off season, they made moves to like surround Justin Fields. They got him a receiver. They got him some new running backs. They drafted a tackle with their top pick. You signed a few guys on the defense. They're still just terrible. They're
like
terrible.
the moves they made weren't even that great. Like I get Deontay Foreman, whatever. DJ Moore's a good DJ Moore's a good pickup, and then I mean the new tackle they got, but like people were acting like as if this was going to be like a Fields MVP year, and I mean it's only week 1, so maybe we're overreacting a bit, but I just can't see the Bears even being in any competition. I mean, this was supposed to be the team that they were supposed to dominate now. No more Aaron, no more Darth Vader taking over your team for over a decade. Like Jordan Love stepped right in and he absolutely balled out. I think he did better this week against the Bears passing than I think Aaron would have with the Packers. I mean, Aaron Jones was playing outstanding. I know he was obviously cramping. The quad father had a lot of rushes. He didn't really play that well. Is what it is. Justin Fields is very shifty. I think he's a great running quarterback. I think his passing was a little bit better. Biggest thing to me is they wasted a damn second round pick on Chase Claypool. We had that drop on the screen. He had 2 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Second round pick for Chase Claypool. I don't even think has eclipsed over 200 yards receiving for them, and he played 3 quarters of the season last year. Just terrible. I mean, terrible moves.
Yeah, it's
But
honestly just like not a fun game to watch after the first half.
yeah.
Um, Moving on to probably the most boring game of the week, I would say. I mean, you have the snooze. I'm not even going to talk about the other game because I grazed right past it, and I refuse to talk about the two teams that both start with C at any length whatsoever. Other than that game, this game probably the most boring. Raiders Broncos. Raiders won by a point in a low scoring game. Jimmy G looked okay. Jacoby Myers surprisingly good. He outplayed Devontae
Yeah.
Adams by
Hmm.
far. And then you
Hmm.
just have Russell Wilson who kind of put up a mediocre performance.
Hmm.
I I'm gonna be honest, Ethan. I really don't want to talk about this game that much because it's putting me to sleep already more than
I
talking.
the only things I really would have on it is yeah, Jacoby Myers played really well in his debut. Jimmy G, he's great. I think he's a quarterback who knows how to win games. That was a game that Vegas is supposed to win. Now, obviously, they have to go into Buffalo next week. We don't know how really that will go, but I mean, yeah, I mean the defense is a little bit better. They still don't have Chandler Jones because they haven't given him access to go into the building for some reason. Um,
Yeah, I don't
boggles my
really
mind.
understand that whole thing. I don't know
Boggles
what.
my mind. I don't. Denver is going to be atrocious this year, even with Sean Payton. I feel bad, but I mean, yeah, honestly, I thought I had some points in this game, and I really don't.
It was just boring. We can just leave it
Hmm.
at that. The next game on the docket is probably the most entertaining game of the whole weekend. The funnest game by far. The Dolphins' electric comeback win against the Chargers, 36-34. Tua had the performance of the weekend. Tyreek Hill had the performance of the weekend. Tua goes for 466, three touchdowns, one pick. Tyreek 11 receptions, 215 yards, and two touchdowns. I mean, this game was sick. It was the best game by far. I only caught really the probably the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter because once Eagles Patriots wrapped up, that was the game that I had, and
Hmm.
it showed like the last 8 minutes, which is really all you needed to watch because that was by far the best part.
Yeah.
Tua looks amazing. I mean, I think a lot of people like to discredit him because he has these amazing receivers. You look at Joe Burrow, he had a terrible game with pretty much, I don't want to say equivalent receivers, but an elite one and elite two. You
Hmm.
have, sorry, the Bills lost. He has Josh Allen, Gabe Davis is okay. Like, why are you going to write off maybe not so great QB in some people's opinion for having great receivers when there's even better quarterbacks who can't play as well with equivalent talent? Like it doesn't make sense to me. This guy was all season last year, he's healthy, actually able to get on the field. He comes back this year after dealing with like concussion after concussion last year, and he looked like the best quarterback in the NFL in week one. And I think the
Hmm.
Dolphins are going to be a team to beat in the AFC, especially looking at how some of the best teams last year performed this week. I'm pretty much all in on the Dolphins, especially now that Rodgers is hurt. That division's opened up a little bit. The Patriots, I don't think anybody's taking them super seriously. And the Bills have problems too. Josh Allen was a turnover
Hmm.
machine in week one. Their defense looks a little bit old. I mean, there's no reason the Dolphins can't win the division. I don't see any reason pointing me that they wouldn't be able to. They're the most electric, high-powered offense in the league, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, this game was just a game of heavy hitters. I mean, uh, Dolphins did get the win. They put up 36 points. The Dolphins defense did not look good. Eckler ran for 117. The backup Joshua Kelly ran for 91. Um, I mean, they're kind of the Chargers were kind of having their way with what it is, but just the offensive outpour from the Dolphins is just way too much. And I mean, I we kind of saw it last year too. I think that's kind of their mode of winning games and mode of playing well. And I agree with you completely. What people say about Tua, I think people try to write him off too much. He was obviously going through the concussion stuff, and he didn't look like himself after he went through it. But when he's fully healthy, he's a great quarterback too. And it wasn't like he was just throwing 4 yard ins to Tyreek Hill and he was taking him 40 yards. Like he was averaging 10 yards per pass. I mean, It's a lot for a quarterback too. Obviously, it didn't get really going on the run game, most only at 37 yards. But then again, if you're putting up 36 points, you really don't even need the run game at that point. Tyreek Hill getting 215 yards himself is just absolutely absurd. This was a phenomenal game. All the big players. It was a great fantasy game for anyone who had players on both teams. Mike Williams left the game with an injury, and that's goes together just like PB and J. Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. It was a great game.
Yeah. We got three left. We'll run through them a little quicker since we've already been talking for about 40 minutes. I I tried to tell people about this Rams team, and they were
Hmm.
in my playoff predictions that I sent in our group chat. I think they can win a playoff game. Maybe the defense isn't that great, but Matthew Stafford looked top 10 after a lot of people wrote him off after last year. You have some
Hmm.
no-name undrafted free agent, Halua Nakua
Nakwa.
Afalafua, I don't know what his name is. He had
Puka
15
Nakwa.
hits. Yeah, whatever it is, who cares? Tutu Atwell looked very good. This team doesn't even have Cooper Kupp yet. You had a lot of guys on defense that, quite frankly, if you put a gun to my head and asked me to name five defensive players on the Rams, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be 6 feet under in a coffin. I mean, they just played together as a team. They looked great. The Seahawks were kind of underwhelming. People are forgetting that this Rams team is 1 year removed from a Super Bowl victory. I mean, they don't have a lot of the same pieces, but when you have Aaron Donald, when you have a top 10 QB, when you have a top probably five receiver in Cooper Cup, you're going to make plays and you're going to be in a lot of games. I think the Rams are going to be they're going to be frisky adjacent all season. Not exactly frisky, a little bit better. We'll call them frisky adjacent for the 2023 NFL season.
Hmm. No, I agree. You summed it up. I really don't have many points other than just Seahawks really couldn't get anything going on offense. I mean, Kenneth Walker played pretty well. Geno Smith was just 112 yards, touchdown. Top receiver DK, 3 catches, 47 yards of a touchdown. I just don't think they really were able to get much going. And I mean, like I said, there's a lot of no names that we don't know of on the Rams defense. So maybe the Rams defense is better than we think. Who knows?
Yeah. We don't have to talk about this one too long. Absolute the first bloodbath at MetLife Stadium of the weekend. The Cowboys obliterated the Giants on Sunday Night Football. That defense looks outstanding. Tony
Hmm.
Pollard looked awesome. Dak Prescott didn't do a lot, but I mean, when you go up by 20 points in the first quarter and a half because your defense is playing outstanding, do you really have to?
No.
Um, they got Cavante Turpin involved, which I liked a lot. He gives them some versatility. They had four running backs who were a part of the offense. Brandon Cooks adds another aspect to that team that I didn't even really think about. He's still
Hmm.
just like a really solid guy to have as a
Hmm.
number two or three behind CeeDee Lamb. And this might be the best Cowboys team we've seen in our life. Or maybe we're overreacting and it's another Cowboys team that's going to lose in the divisional round to a perennial NFC playoff contender. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe this game is over before it started. I mean, I thought it was going to be competitive, but they just couldn't get anything going. Unfortunate on that pick six, which knocks out of Saquon's hands. Um, that kind of just let everything downhill from there. They really just couldn't get anything going. But
Even
I mean, yeah,
before that, the field goal block.
yes. Oh, yes. You're right. The field goal block. I mean, yeah, I was excited for the first Sunday night game, but it just ended up being a blowout. But what I thought was even
Um,
cooler is that the Sunday night and Monday night games are both at the same stadium.
I know. Last game, just I don't even know where to start, man. The Jets, man.
Hmm.
There was so much hope going into the season for this team, and the stars for them shined throughout the entire night. Brees Hall on only 10 carries, 127 yards. Garrett Wilson had an amazing catch. This defense was outstanding the entire game. I mean, Stephon Diggs really never got anything going against Sauce Gardner. DJ Reed was awesome. The safety, I'm forgetting his name again. Witherspoon, does that sound right?
Yeah. Something of
Yeah,
that nature.
Witherspoon whatever his name is, for the Jets had 3 picks. Quentin Williams and the D line looked awesome. I mean, it just sucks, man, because this could have been a really fun team all year. And I'm not a Jets fan by any means. To see Aaron Rodgers go down fourth play from scrimmage, it just sucks. I mean, I can't even imagine if you're a fan of this team how you're feeling right now. I see you walk away with like an awesome win. This is probably like, if you're a Jets fan, I couldn't imagine a crazier roller coaster of emotions in a game probably in their lifetimes. But like, it sucks. It really sucks because they haven't had a great QB since Vinny Testaverde for what, 2 or 3 seasons, and
Yeah.
you trade for this guy, you give up draft capital. Now that he's not going to play, it activates a clause where they have to give the Packers another second-round pick. And you're left this season just like in no man's land. Because this defense is good enough that they're going to be in games that will probably get 6 or 7 wins, maybe 8. Maybe it's that good. And you're not going to have a top draft pick to go get a QB or go get a position of need. It just sucks. There's no way around it. It sucks.
I mean, yeah, obviously the Jets ended up coming up with a win. That punt return at the end was crazy. MetLife, I mean, right after Rodgers' injury, it just sounded there was no sounds in the stadium for the next couple quarters up until half. Breece Hall was insane. Max is big on Breece Hall. It's almost as if the Jets don't have a great offensive line, but when Breece Hall is running the ball, they turn into like the steel curtain. Like it's absurd. Dalvin Cook just does not get that same offensive line when he's running like Breece does. I mean, I kid. Maybe Breece is just better at picking those lanes, but I mean, Zach Wilson is going to be the guy, I guess, for now. I know they're looking into new people. This might have been Josh Allen's worst game he's played in his career as well. Him and Burrow, both in 1 week. Diggs balled, though. Diggs did insane. Sauce locked up. I'd say Sauce had a decent good game. There was a couple of catches, though, that Diggs had that was one-on-one man coverage. But then again, I mean, it's already skewed favor to be the receiver. So, I mean, yeah, I want to say that, like, the Jets are done for, but I mean, who knows? This team's so complete. Their defense is so good. The secondary might be the best secondary in the NFL. Their front seven is nasty. I don't know. Their defense can definitely help them win some games. I think for me personally now, I think with the Jets, this team, I think they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to. That's how I think it's going to be.
Yeah. That's pretty much all for our weekend recap. We've been going for a while here now, so we're gonna skip over guessing the spread. We might bring that back. We're still kind of working on the kinks for how we're gonna do the NFL season, but we're just gonna pretty quickly here do our picks for each game this season. I guess now that I think about it, the only ones that I was gonna say the only ones we have to count are the ones where we go against each other, right? Wouldn't that make sense? Because if we have the same pick, it wouldn't matter towards our overall score.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm just gonna write down whatever both of us say though. For now, we can figure out those logistics.
But I'll put in my notes too.
Okay.
The first game we got here, Thursday night, Minnesota at Philadelphia. I'm taking Philly.
This seems like a revenge game from last Thursday night last year. Remember that?
I do remember
when the Eagles dominated them. I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'll go to the Eagles as well.
All right, we're both taking Philadelphia there. The very next game, looking at the early slate on Sunday, Kansas City versus Jacksonville.
I'm going to go with – I don't think Mahomes is losing back-to-back. I'm going to go with Chiefs.
I'm going KC too. I think we'll both have the same pick here. Buffalo, Vegas. Give me Buffalo.
Yeah, I give you Buffalo as well.
Baltimore versus Cincy. This is an interesting one because Lamar didn't look great either. Joe Burrow maybe had the worst performance. I'm going to take Baltimore in a week 2 matchup here.
Okay. I'm gonna take Baltimore too, just because I don't know about Joe Burrow's status. I'm still scared about that.
That's fair. This game's a weird one for me. The Chargers versus Tennessee. I weirdly think this could be like a 17 to like 16, 1 point game. I'm gonna take the Chargers still, but I think it's gonna be close.
Okay, I'll go the Titans. I'll go the
You going with
Titans.
the Titans?
I think maybe they'll win the grunge match. So I'm gonna go with the Titans on that one. Maybe they'll play a little bit better this week.
All right. Looking at the later slate on CBS, the Jets versus Dallas. I'm guessing we're both taking Dallas here.
Yeah, definitely go Dallas.
Um, the Commies versus the Broncos. Up there for worst game of the week. I don't know if this is a game that anybody is really going to be interested whatsoever. I'm going to take Denver in a bounce back game, I guess. I guess I'll take Denver. I'm not like super confident in that, but I'll go Denver. I think this is basically a pick 'em. I don't know.
Um,
I know it's at Denver, which I think gives them a little bit of advantage in Mile High, but I'm gonna go with Denver.
I'm gonna go with the Commanders here. I'm gonna take the
You want
Commanders.
to command?
I don't like Denver. We may have skipped some of the 1 o'clock games, by the way, boss.
I have the CBS versus the Fox.
Okay, yeah, because the Fox ones. Okay, go ahead, keep going.
So yeah. So what I'm looking at, it's this website called 506 Sports. It shows you a map of what channel the games are on and where you get it on the map based on your location, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Looking at the early slate on Fox, Seattle versus Detroit. I think a lot of people are going to be low on Seattle going into this game. I think it's a trap game for them. I'm going with the Seahawks.
I was actually gonna go Seattle as well on this one.
Right?
I think they'll bounce back, and yeah, I think they'll beat the Lions.
Just for the sake of us having some different picks, I'll go Detroit because I think it's
Okay.
gonna be Chicago, Tampa. I think this is a big overreaction here. I think a lot of people are gonna go Tampa here, and I'm gonna go.
You gotta go with the Bears.
I'm going with Tampa.
Okay. I'm I'm gonna go with the Bears on this, for
Okay.
the sake of variety as well as I think they'll bounce back. Maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Green Bay versus Atlanta in Atlanta. Give me Green Bay. They look so good last week.
I like Green Bay as well. I think they're a great team. I mean, I'm not gonna sleep on the Falcons though, but I
Indy,
like Green Bay as well.
Indy versus Houston. I think this is an interesting one, so I could see it going either way. I'm going to take Indy though. I think Richardson looked a little bit better last year. What do you think?
Um, I'm gonna go with Texans because I didn't like the run game for the Colts. Uh, they played a great game. I think Richardson, uh, just I think Stroud will play better, have a better, more complete game this game. I'll go Texans.
Yes, I'm guessing we're both taking the Giants against the worst team in the National Football League, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes.
Same
Sorry,
thing for the.
there's an ad thing.
Okay. What about San Francisco versus LA, the Rams?
Sorry, what'd you say?
San Francisco versus the Rams. I'm going to go with the Niners. I think they just looked too good last week.
Hang on. Sorry, I had Austin an Austin Eckler video playing in the background of my. We're on the Niners game. You said
Yes, Niners versus the
Rams.
LA Rams.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty easy.
All right. Sunday night, I'm taking Miami versus New England. Tua has never lost to the Patriots in his entire career. I think it'll be a little closer than people think because the New England corners are fast enough to kind of shadow and keep up a little bit with the Miami receivers. But I'm going to still take Miami.
I agree. I'm gonna take the Fins as well.
All right. Moving on. Kind of weird. Two Monday night games that are going to be going on at the same time. Um,
Yep.
New Orleans versus Carolina. I don't think anybody will be watching outside of the great states of Louisiana and North Carolina at 7:15.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Saints just because I like them this whole season. What are you going with that?
Yeah, I'm going Saints as well. Yeah, that one's. I like that one. I like the Saints. Grand finale.
And lastly, it's only right. We're both taking the Browns, right?
Yep.
All right, there we go.
No doubts
Cleveland
about that
Browns
one.
2-0, soon to be 3-0, soon to be 4-0, and so on. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all we got for you on this week's episode of the Setup. We really only switched up picks. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So there shouldn't be too much of a big difference going into next week. But those are all the games we got for you. And you'll probably be hearing from us around the same time next week, maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday episode, going over the previous week's games and giving our predictions for this week. So we're powering down here on the Setup.